So there are various contaminants which are present in water which can have negative impacts on human health. So let's have look at some of those water contaminants and what their impact will be on the human health. So first is arsenic. Arsenic is a toxic element that can be found in water in two primary forms, arsenite and arsenate. Both forms have significant health impacts when they are present in drinking water. Now, sources of arsenic contamination. First is leaching from natural deposits. Arsenic is naturally present in the Earth's crust. It can leach into groundwater from arsenic-rich rocks and soils. This natural leaching is often the primary source of arsenic contamination in groundwater, particularly in certain geographic regions. Then second is pesticides. Arsenic has been used in various pesticides and herbicides. Residues from these agricultural chemicals can contaminate soil and water sources. Even though the use of arsenic-based pesticides has been significantly reduced or banned in many areas, historical use can still contribute to contamination. Coal power plants. Coal contains trace amount of arsenic. When coal is burned in power plants, arsenic can be released into the environment through emissions and ash. The disposal of coal ash, which contains concentrated levels of arsenic, can lead to groundwater and surface water contamination. Effects on human health. Serious skin problems. Chronic exposure to arsenic contaminated water can lead to skin changes such as hyperpigmentation, depigmentation, and the formation of lesions and warts. Long-term exposure can cause more severe conditions such as keratosis, that is thickening of the skin. Endocrine disruptor. Arsenic can interfere with the endocrine system, which regulates hormones in the body. This disruption can lead to various health issues, including metabolic disorders and developmental problems. Cancer. Arsenic is a known carcinogen. Prolonged exposure can increase the risk of various types of cancer, including skin cancer, bladder cancer, lung cancer, kidney cancer, liver cancer. Arsenic exposure can harm the cardiovascular system, leading to high blood pressure, arteriosclerosis means hardening of the arteries, and increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Chronic arsenic exposure can also affect the nervous system, causing symptoms such as nerve damage, cognitive impairment, and other neurological disorders. Cadmium. Cadmium is a toxic heavy metal that can be found in the water as the cadmium ion. This contamination can come from various sources and has significant health effects on humans. So sources includes first is corrosion of galvanized pipes. Galvanized pipes are coated with a layer of zinc to prevent rusting. Over time, this zinc layer can corrode and release cadmium, which may have been present as an impurity in the zinc coating into the water supply. Erosion of natural deposits. Cadmium naturally occurs in the Earth's crust. Through weathering and erosion of rocks and soil, cadmium can leach into groundwater and surface water bodies. Discharge from metal refineries. Industrial activities, particularly metal refineries and manufacturing processes, can release cadmium into the environment. Wastewater from these facilities may contain cadmium, which can contaminate the local water bodies. Then effects on human health. Short-term effects include nausea. Cadmium ingestion can irritate the stomach lining, leading to feelings of nausea. Vomiting. Ingestion of cadmium contaminated water can cause vomiting as the body tries to expel the toxin. Diarrhea. Cadmium can cause gastrointestinal distress, resulting in diarrhea. Then acute exposure to cadmium may lead to muscle cramps and spasms. Short-term exposure can affect sensory functions, causing disturbances such as numbness or tingling sensations. High levels of cadmium can damage liver cells, leading to liver dysfunction. Long-term exposure. Chronic exposure to cadmium is particularly harmful to kidneys. Cadmium accumulates in the kidneys over time, impairing their function and leading to kidney disease. Then it also causes liver damage, affecting its ability to process toxins and performs metabolic functions. Then it can interfere with calcium metabolism, weakening the bones and increasing the risk of fractures. Long-term cadmium exposure can affect blood composition and function, potentially leading to anemia and other blood disorders. Fluoride. In water, it typically exists in the form of fluoride ion. So, sources of contaminant, natural deposits. Fluoride is found naturally in various types of rocks and minerals. As water flows through these geological formations, it can dissolve fluoride ions, leading to natural contamination of groundwater sources. Then, municipally treated drinking water. Fluoride is often added to municipal drinking water supplies to help prevent dental cavities, and the typical concentration for this purpose is around 0.7 to 1.2 milligram per liter. However, if the fluoridation process is poorly monitored or the equipment malfunctions, fluoride levels can exceed the recommended limits, potentially reaching concentrations greater than 2 milligram per liter. Then effects on human health, skeletal fluorosis, long-term consumption of water with fluoride concentrations above 4 milligram per liter can lead to serious condition known as skeletal fluorosis. This disorder resembles osteoporosis and it affects bones and joints. So symptoms of skeletal fluorosis includes joint pain and stiffness, limited joint movement, bone pain and fractures, increased bone density, and abnormal bone growths. Nitrate or nitrite. These compounds commonly occur in water and they can originate from several sources. So sources of contaminants, human sewage and livestock manure. Human sewage and livestock manure contain high levels of nitrogen. When these waste products are not properly managed or treated, they can contaminate water sources with nitrates and nitrites. Fertilizers. Agricultural fertilizers are rich in nitrogen compounds. Excessive use of these fertilizers can lead to runoff into nearby water bodies or leaching into groundwater, increasing nitrate and nitrite levels. Erosion of natural deposits. Natural deposits of nitrogen containing minerals can erode and release nitrates and nitrites into water sources. This process is typically less significant compared to human activities. Then effects on human health. Methemoglobinemia, which is known as blue baby syndrome. It is a condition that affects infants under 6 months of age. It occurs when nitrate is converted to nitrite in the body. Nitrite can then bind to hemoglobin in the blood, forming methemoglobin, which reduces the blood's ability to carry oxygen. Symptoms include a bluish color of the skin, particularly around the mouth, hands, and feet, and it can lead to serious health issues such as difficulty in breathing, lethargy, and in severe cases, death if it is not treated properly. Then infants are particularly vulnerable to nitrate and nitrite contamination because their digestive systems are not fully developed and which makes them more efficient at converting nitrate to nitrite. The reduced oxygen carrying capacity of the blood in infants can really result in oxygen deprivation to vital organs and tissues, posing these significant health risks to infants. Chlorine. Chlorine is a chemical element that can exist in different forms in water, primarily as hypochlorous acid and sodium chloride. Then the sources of these contaminants includes natural sources such as it can be found naturally in the environment, particularly in seawater where it is the major component of salt. Then anthropogenic sources, runoff from agricultural lands, urban areas, and industrial sites can introduce various chlorine compounds into water bodies. Then use of inorganic fertilizers. Some fertilizers contain chlorine compounds that can leach into groundwater and surface water. Then landfill leachates. Leachates from landfills, which is the liquid that drains from waste, can contain chlorine compounds that contaminate the surrounding water bodies. Septic tank effluents. Septic systems can release chlorine and other contaminants into the environment if it is not properly maintained. Industrial effluents. Industrial processes that use or produce chlorine compounds can discharge these into water bodies as a part of their waste effluent. Effects on human health. So it causes various respiratory issues like wheezing, difficulty in breathing, and cough. Chlorine exposure can cause wheezing and other respiratory systems, especially in individuals with asthma or other pre-existing respiratory conditions. Inhaling chlorine gas or fumes can lead to difficulty in breathing and increase the conditions like asthma. Exposure to chlorine can irritate the respiratory tract, causing coughing and throat irritation. Then chlorine exposure can cause a sore throat, particularly if inhaled or ingested in contaminated water. It can irritate the eyes, causing redness, tearing, and discomfort. Then skin irritation. Direct contact with chlorine or chlorine containing compounds can lead to skin irritation, redness, and itching. Prolonged exposure can cause more severe conditions such as dermatitis. Mercury. Mercury occurs in water as metallic mercury, mercuric ion, mercurous, methyl mercury. Now, what are the sources of contamination? First is industrial discharges. Factories and industrial processes can release mercury into water bodies. Coal combustion. Burning coal releases mercury into the atmosphere, which can then deposit into water bodies through rain. Mining activities. Mercury is used in gold mining and can contaminate water through runoff. Waste disposal. Improper disposal of products containing mercury, such as batteries and fluorescent lights, can lead to water contamination. Natural sources. Volcanic activity and weathering of mercury containing rocks can release mercury into the environment. Then effects on human health. Mercury exposure can have several health impacts, particularly affecting the brain, kidneys, developing fetus, like how it affects the brain functioning. Exposure to mercury can cause mood changes and irritability. It can cause involuntary shaking or tremors. It can also affect sensory functions, leading to vision and hearing issues. Mercury exposure can also impair cognitive functions, leading to memory problems. Then it can accumulate in the kidneys, causing damage and impairing their function. Pregnant women exposed to mercury can pass it to the developing fetus, causing developmental issue and birth defects. Then there are various gastrointestinal effects also. Mercury can cause inflammation and irritation of the esophagus. Ingesting mercury can cause a burning sensation. Mercury exposure can induce sudden vomiting.